there was a good deal and I couldn't find a buyer. Then I would find a buyer and I couldn't find a house. Then I would struggle on contracts. Then I would struggle on marketing. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, it all came together, and it was like a wheel going down a big hill. It was like an avalanche. You know, and all of a sudden I started doing these deals. So literally, like over 6 months, I struggled, and then all of a sudden I was doing like 5 or 10 deals in a month. It happened really fast. And then there's similar. When I transitioned out of wholesaling, I had to go again, and I started shifting, which is a great key word you guys use, and I love those Gary Keller books. Again, you know, I could see the financial markets changing and the financing changing, so I started figuring out what I was going to do, how I would be able to operate and invest without banks, and try to get ahead of that. And that worked out really well for me as well.
And what? So, go ahead, Terry.
Go ahead. I was going to say, in that aha moment, what was the trigger? Because we have the same problem here in San Diego with $400,000 and $500,000 homes. It's like we'll have a buyer, but we don't have a home, or we have a home, but we don't have a buyer. So what is that? What happened? Because that's where people aren't comfortable, signing a contract on something without knowing what's going to happen, and they don't want to be misrepresenting anything.
Sure.
So how does that work?
Well, I think it's important that people get a good understanding of how contracts work and how you can keep your deals safe. And if you can do that, then you can shop with confidence. And when you can shop with confidence, you feel good and you're going to make your deals. So part of it is understanding what kind of clauses and contingencies and different things you can put into your contracts to protect yourself. So if you learn to put some of those in there, you're going to feel a lot better. And for me, it's like I struggled, and then, like I said, I just went from zero to doing a whole bunch of deals really quick. Part of that was when I got a package of houses under contract from a burned-out landlord who was just needed to dump his houses, and he didn't have one house. I mean, he had like 30 or 40, and we started working through packages at a time of 5 or 10 at a time. And that was all started with a call from a bandit sign, and I moved a ton of the guys' houses.
Okay. Very good.
And so this was kind of the time when you felt like you really had it, like you had confidence, and you felt and what do you, in your opinion, as a coach, and obviously you've seen tons of people come across your desk. I guess we now mentor and deal with people on Skype and that are in other areas. What do you think is the biggest challenge that is facing a lot of people getting into it? And this is where we talk about mindset. And my grandmother always said, and she's still alive, she still says that look no further than yourself to find your worst enemy. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and you guys are asking really unique questions that have not been asked really very often, so I appreciate that very much.
Sure.
One of the things I'm doing this year is I'm reading Think and Grow Rich every 3 months this year. And that book is all about getting your head straight. It really is. It's it goes back to the mastermind concept and how Napoleon Hill was commissioned by Carnegie to go out there and study people like Edison and Henry Ford and all these people, and how he gained all that knowledge. So you've got to get the right people surrounded all the way around you, and that starts with having a good mentor and having some good coaching and really building a community of financial friends as well. Jim Rohn said, I think it's him, that said, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And so if you want to be a positive person and you want to grow, think about who you're hanging out with and the influences they're having on you. Now, I don't mean that you shouldn't reach out to people that are in need, because I love reaching out to people that are in need as well, but those people that you're going to really spend a lot of time with are super important to your success. And you've absolutely got to start with the success right in your head and in your heart, and you've got to have the confidence to believe you can do it when there's all these other people around you, family members and other people saying, that won't work, this won't work, go get a job, you know, all these other things. So you've got to be able to put all that stuff aside and absolutely have a distinct and definite purpose of what you're trying to do and be able to picture yourself doing it.
Yeah.
Do you write it down, or because like I've been listening to Napoleon Hill myself on the through the internet, and you know, and it was just by happenstance because my daughter plays a lot of sports and I have a lot of downtime, and I've just been, you know, just listening to that, and it's funny how I hear I think you're about the third or fourth person that I've spoken to lately that have said that, you know, they've been either reading or listening to Think and Grow Rich. So that's interesting. So.
Yeah, it's like I read it years ago, and then I didn't read it again until like 6 months ago. And you know, several years ago, the book that really flipped it for me was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep.
For a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're all awesome, and it's good to reread them. I'm telling you, I'm committed to this Think and Grow Rich thing every 3 months this year. And every time I read it, I pick up little nuggets along the way that I didn't pick up the last time. There's a lot in that book, and I can't believe it was written in the 1930s, because I don't normally like writing that's really old like that. But it's just really good.
Well, history always repeats itself, and there's so many common threads of history. You know, even in what's happening right now.
Absolutely.
I experienced the Resolution Trust, and I experienced the 1980s, and you know, I guess when you get older, you get wiser, and for those reasons, you know, you've experienced a few things, and if you remember them, it really pays off. So, or listen to people that have experienced them.
Yeah, and you got to remember the 1930s when the book was written was right after the Depression. So, you know, success, you know, I was glad you asked that because normally real estate folks aren't asking me questions like that, but really I absolutely believe that the success starts in your head. And you get it in your head and you get it in your heart with a definite purpose and a plan. Like you said about goals, most people never have them. And this is the time of year you need to really be starting to focus on it. You should have goals written down for this year, next year, the year after. And it's like some people go to think about goals and they think about it and they never write anything down because they think they can't come up with a perfect goal. Well, just start writing. You can always, you know, cross them out or refine them later. It's like brainstorm your goals to get something on your piece of paper. And then you can start delivering and your success will go up.
Yeah. I have a question, Jim, and it would be, you know, I've made it a strong effort. I have an HP 10B2 on my cell phone, and I've made it, you know, a commitment to learn internal rate of return and net present value and all those things. And how do you look at your deals, and how do you know, what do you do to assess, you know, assess a transaction? I mean, do you use a software program, or how do you? I use
apps, but you know, my background is electrical engineering. So as an engineer. As an engineer and IT folks and math and science people that are on the call will relate to the fact that you're taught in college to control your variables, put it into an equation, and you get an exact output. And I find with my real estate deals, I sort of had to retrain my brain because I wanted to overanalyze all my deals. And I got to the point where if I have to think too hard about it, then it's probably not a good deal. So I may underanalyze deals now, to be honest with you, more than overanalyze them. And you know, if I'm doing a rate of return, I get to the point where if I have to think about it, then it's probably not good enough. And if it's a really juicy deal, then I know that it is good enough.
Okay.
And it depends on what my position in that deal is, because you guys understand creative real estate. There's a million ways to slice and dice these things.
Sure.
And we're at Thanksgiving right now, so I say it's like a big Thanksgiving turkey because you can slice and dice this thing a million ways. you can participate, you can fund it. There's all these different benefits and different positions on how you want to jump in, and that's really an awesome thing about real estate.
Sure.
Okay.
So Jim, tell us, what are you working on right now? What are your hot opportunities? We're closing out 2014. We're going into 2015. One of the things that we're talking to people about is obviously with the flattening of markets, there's way more opportunities now than there was 6 months ago, and obviously 6 months from now there'll be even more opportunities to. And we're several of the speakers that's really what they specialize in is in flat markets that we have coming up, and certainly you're no stranger to that. What are your 3 strategies for taking advantage of current real estate market opportunities?
Well, on the acquisition side, I always like to get seller financing. I'm currently working on 3 houses right now, and I'm waiting to close on another one Monday, and then I've got a title issue on a rental that I'm waiting to close on after that.
Sure.
So I am active on the street buying, and I'm always buying, selling, and renting something.
Sure.
But yeah, I absolutely love seller financing. I think my rental portfolio is getting to the point where I wish I would have done more exit strategy seller financing like you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And so that's something I'm shifting to. And what held me back a little bit this year on that was the Dodd-Frank. Now, I've done some, and I love them. So why wouldn't I do more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, I'm telling you that, and I like being a landlord, and probably 90% of my tenants are great, but my notes that I've exited on with property is literally like chunks of money just show up in my checking account through my third party provider every single month.
Yeah.
And I don't get any calls to fix anything, and
no tenants, taxes,
it's
toilets,
more passive. It's more passive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one of the things I'm shifting to, and that's why I like your program.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you create a seller finance deal now, are you on the purchase side? Are you creating it to be able to exit potentially with the same financing in place, or how do you are you thinking through how you structure these?
I've done all of the above.
Okay.
So, yes, I've received seller financing on the acquisition side, and then I've done wraps to sell it on the exit side.
Okay.
I know you guys understand that.
Yeah,
I've done it quite a few times, and it's always worked well. I've also taken that wrap and walked it to another property.
Okay.
Okay, so I've exchanged or moved the collateral, and that's a pretty creative way to free up cash as well.
Well, isn't that one of the greatest discoveries I think a lot of us have come into in the last few years of, when you see the attack on the 1031 exchange, you now look at the fact that a note can be exchanged in actually a lot more easy manner. If you have a payoff of a note, you're not subject to capital gains if you exchange it into something else. And again, as always, we're not CPAs. We're not giving tax advice. We're simply reading our understanding of the code, right, Jim?
No, you're right. And calls like this really turn into a mastermind when you start talking about this stuff. Sure. Because you're getting like light bulbs going off in my head too. So, and it's good. It's a good exchange of information, and it's not a lot of people that I can have these conversations with. So I've enjoyed it.
Well, I can't even tell you how many people that we've come across in San Diego, that have fallen into the 1031, we call it the 1031 trap, where they keep exchanging into higher and higher and higher basis. We've actually met a few people that went bankrupt because of it. And,
wow.
It just, because of the craziness of having to exchange up. Whereas with a note, there's really no, you can sell part of the note, you can sell all of the note, you can get a payoff and then put it and buy a note. It just, the flexibility and liquidity of it is just absolutely awesome. Can we talk about deal sourcing? Because
Sure.
you know, I've gone through your program, and I think anyone on this call, obviously, you know, if you're taking the time, it means you actually care
Sure.
about you know, getting better. And Jim's program actually can be found in the second link there. He has a pretty cool little intro webinar with Daniel Clayman, his partner, who we actually did a call. We were on his call earlier in the year for Dodd-Frank compliance. Anyways, can you go into deal sourcing? Because I think you've got some really awesome tactics.
Okay. I mean, I had the deal source off the MLS back in the late 2000s, like 2008 to 2010, because there were no good deals. The market was red hot. It's the opposite of what it was now. There were no good deals at all, and money was super loose. Now it's the opposite. So that forced me to go out and understand how to find leads and motivated sellers without relying on the MLS. And it's gotten easier as the internet's gotten better to build lists and things like that. But yeah, one of the biggest ways that I'm finding deals right now is referrals. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Just go out there and get referrals for deals. But you know, when you're doing this a lot and you have a good reputation for closing and things like that, your referral network is a gold mine. So I've always worked on cultivating that, including using bird dogs. I've got a ad that I put onto Craigslist, and repeatedly, always, everybody uses this ad, gets calls from people looking to sell houses and setting up a team of bird dogs. So I like to get bird dogs out there. And then I've got like little referral cards that I hand out to people. It says, you know, like, make $500 by referring houses to me. And you give those to people like the person doing your hair. Maybe have that person put it on her mirror. Remember, $500 is a lot of money to a lot of people, and they're going to see the card there. This time of the year, as we go into January, people that are doing tax preparation run into a lot of people that have a lot of needs for selling. Even like bartenders and anybody who interacts with a lot of people that has a need to sell, start giving out that referral card. Daniel and I said this is the year of the relationship, and it really is an important year for relationships. So be intentional about making relationships with brokers and realtors as well for the deals that do come on the MLS that actually are really legitimately good deals. And if you have a good relationship with people, they can give you tips. They can tell you about a property before it's listed and things like that. I know they're not supposed to, but they do. So I think referrals are really important. I've always liked going after things like code violators. It's a great way to build a list that's a little unique. Burned out landlords, people that are going through evictions. So really there is an endless list and an endless number of ways. You can use yellow letters and things like that. And they all work. And when I was doing 100 deals a year, everybody was drilling me like, how are you finding these deals? And it was like everybody thought I just had one method. But the truth is I did 5 or 10 things, and I did them consistently, and I followed up with people all the time. And everything from bandit signs to direct mail to referrals to going after code violators and burned out landlords, it all works, and you need to do a lot of relationship building along the way.
Yeah, and I really like
the referral system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was great about what your program is. Wasn't really just do this. It was kind of, you know, which a lot of people talk about, multiple streams, multiple places that they can draw and rely upon their leads from, because
it's not a single magic bullet. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely awesome. Can you talk about your coaching, and can you talk about I had mentioned a little bit about your product that you have with Daniel Clayman, and can you go into that?
Sure. Daniel Clayman and I are friends. We both live in Richmond, Virginia. We met actually when I was wholesaling, and Daniel, I used to do these investor bus tours, believe it or not. So I put 50 investors onto a bus, and I would sell my wholesale deals that way. And Daniel was on the bus one day, and I met him several years ago. So he saw what I was doing with what we call a joint venture real estate deal, and he wanted to be able to teach people how to do it. So we built this system called the Bank Elimination Blueprint because, like I said, several years ago, my wife Cheryl and I drew a line in the sand and said, that's it. We're going to fire our banker and relieve us of that responsibility and putting our credit at risk and using our own money and all those bad things about banks, and find a new way to do it. One way you can do it is seller financing on the acquisition side. Another way is straight up private lending, and another way is a hybrid of kind of both, which is what we call a joint venture. And a joint venture allows multiple people to kind of come together on a deal that have different skills and different resources available, and that's the way that you superpower your cash flow and things like that, because you no longer need to wait 30 years to get a house paid off to reap the benefits of owning it basically free and clear. And that's the goal of most landlords, right?
Yep.
To get it free and clear so you don't have to any bank encumbrances and you can maximize your cash flow long term. And that's really the power of a joint venture. It allows you to shortcut that 30 years to almost immediately.
So you have in a joint venture, you have someone that has the loan, so to speak, the debt, and then someone that has the equity, and maybe that debt person also owns some of the equity.
Right. So we call the real estate investor is basically the deal maker, and we call that person the catalyst. You think of a chemical catalyst as the person, the part that really makes everything kind of explode. Super important because this person's got to be able to go out and find houses that are on sale and be able to create the cash flow long term. Now the other person is the JV partner, or think of that as like a financier. Now the financier could be a self-directed IRA. It's a great source for doing deals. And you know, less than 5% of the country has money in self-directed IRAs. There's still billions there, but there's a lot more opportunity there as you learn to educate people on how easy a self-directed IRA works. You could also do it with an educational student account for people that are looking to save for college kids. And now, right now, with all the healthcare renewals going on, a really great opportunity for finding money for your deals includes things like HSAs, health savings accounts. You can put those into a self-directed IRA, put that money to work, and somebody can actually fund their health care that way, and that's becoming a very big deal all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, I was told by a CPA that the HSAs are the best of all if you can get them big enough, because the money going in is tax-free, and the money coming out is tax-free, and the money inside is tax-free.
That's right. It's kind of like a Roth IRA. Roth IRA is the best gift our government's ever given us. Yeah. And as you learn how to do deals in your Roth IRA, you can set it up with the beneficiaries and such that you could basically give your grandkids a tax-free checkbook when you're gone. And if you teach them to do deals, they can get that thing to stretch their entire life. I mean, these are incredible. These are incredible or anywhere else. They're like financial secrets.
Yeah. 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 The beneficiary part of that, the Roth IRA, where you can have an elderly person basically create one, and you can fund it for them. And I think, does it have to be open for 5 years? And then if the beneficial interest is a 10-year-old kid, they can actually, if it's grown enough, they can distribute from it their whole life, or take distributions their whole life.
So we could probably brainstorm for a little while on how we could teach people how to inherit a Roth IRA. And
yes, for their children. Yes.
Absolutely, and it's an incredible thing to teach people how to do that. So I like where you're going with that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Mark, what else do you have?
Well, yeah. So looking into the future, obviously none of us have a crystal ball. We have what we're working on, and we have obviously the opportunities we're capturing and the opportunities that we think we're going to ride over the next 3 years. Terry and I certainly have ours. What are yours? What are you working on? What's your focus, and what do you think is going to drive the bus the next 3 years?
Well, what do you guys think will happen to interest rates over the next couple of years?
They're going to go up.
Yeah.
Don't you think they've got to go up?
They have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been held down artificially, and I've been thinking the last couple of years we were going to run into hyperinflation, but I've been wrong up to this point.
Myself as well.
I've been, we've been getting. I like to read a lot of economics because it has to do with history, and I love history. And inflation will happen, and when it does, it's going to be out of control. But for the time being, from what I can gather, is the world economy is so sick that we're healthier than they are, so that's why we haven't seen it yet. So.
Oops, so you guys still there? We're
Yeah.
losing audio here.
Yeah,
Hello, I'm here. Okay, you there, Jim? Hello?
Jim?
Well, it looks like we
Not sure if you guys can hear me.
Yes,
yeah,
I
we
can.
can hear you, Jim.
Am I all alone here?
No, we can hear you.
No. Hello?
Jim,
So,
Jim's raising his hand. Oh, shoot. Here he goes. He logged back in.
Solar flares.
You should be in. I just had to unmute you.
Okay, cool. That was crazy. I think it was the solar flares. So yeah, I think rates are going to go up.
Well, if you look at all the major forecasts, all the major reporting agencies, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, U.S. News, Wall Street Journal, every single one predicts a point increase pretty much on average across the board.
Yep. Now, a point is going to hurt, but it isn't going to be a lot. But if they go to 7 or 8%, I mean, and up, it's going to really turn things upside down. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. Well, the government can't afford to pay its interest even at 0%, so I can't see that it would ever, do that. But the good point is with seller financing, to bring it back in, is if you're creating a note or at 6, 7, 8, 9%, let alone 10 or 12, or you have to watch out for Dodd-Frank, of course, and that's another subject. But those notes are going to retain value, and actually probably you could end up selling them above par in the future when people are looking for some kind of a yield to keep their keep their inflationary keep their inflation from eating away at their assets. So I think what we're creating with seller finance notes is something that will last a long time. At least that's my opinion. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I absolutely think you're right. And it's a lot more passive than being a landlord and a lot less liability, right?
Yes.
Tremendous. And we're becoming more and more every year litigious with lawsuits and frivolous lawsuits and all this kinds of stuff. And it's really important if you're going to be a landlord that you learn to protect your assets and really also protect your privacy. You need to protect both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And but the nice thing about the note business is that it's easier to do because the people that get sued are the people that are on title.
Yeah, that brings me to a point on Bigger Pockets. Today, I think it was, someone wrote a post, how, something about getting sued and how do you prevent from having it happen? And then there's this long string of people chiming in on, oh, well, you got to have good insurance and you got to do this. And, and some people just get sued anyway, because, someone gets hurt and you can just count on it. And then at the end, I just, I had to do it. I said, why don't you just change your passive income stream into a note, and you can be the bank like all the major buildings are in any major city. It's got their logo up on top of the building. There's a reason for that, and you don't have any of that liability. And I haven't gone back to that string yet, but I had to do it.
No, absolutely, and that's why I brought that point up. And, you know, of course, the trade-off is the depreciation. But to me, that's a good trade. I'll tell you, to be honest with you, the only thing I like better than buying houses is probably being on the note side of houses, because it's so much more passive and you don't have all the liability. And believe me, I love buying houses. I'm addicted. But really, what you guys have here with the seller financing is super powerful, and people do need to jump in, and people are jumping into the note business a lot right now.
Yeah, it's a trend that's going to just take off, I think. So any other strategies? I know, you know, I've been doing myself a lot of non-performing notes, you know, and that's been very, very good for me. It's kind of rural, though. You know, they're all over the country.
Yes.
And you know, you get into a lot of minutia with that, with attorneys and, you know, notice of the default and all that.
They're
Any
great
other
returns,
strategies?
but I have good friends that love buying seconds that are in default and things like that, and they do really well. It's just a lot of work. I prefer to get, as I do this longer and longer, try to find more passive stuff that I can't get sued on. That's where I'm headed.
Okay. Very good. So, and are you using a mortgage originator in Virginia for your, when you sell and sell to a consumer? Is that you're on top of that?
Well, I mean, that's a hard thing to find and keep, and that's the service you guys can provide, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's what we do.
You know, tell everybody kind of how you do that, because a lot of originators get nervous.
Yeah, they do.
About that.
Yeah, so it's been interesting because you know, most of your lenders want to lend to non-owner occupants. You know, they're hard money guys, and you know, before the crash, the S.A.F.E money was lending to owner occupant homeowners, and you know, you got lower rates. You know, everything was real rosy with an owner occupant buyer. So with the law that's changed now, you know, the hard money lenders have avoided it, and I really don't understand why. Because if you just read the rules and comply with the law and follow the rules, you've got a much safer loan with the owner occupant than you're going to have with an investor that's going to be
completely agree.
You know, potentially leveraging his, you know, every last dollar into as many homes as he can get and all that. So
or you know, I've taken back houses from investors, and usually they seem to fail because they don't understand property management.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the two.
It's a skill. It's a skill.
It's an important skill set. If you're going to be in that business, you got to get good at it or have one.
Yes. Yeah, and that'll cost you money too.
Yep.
So yeah, we just, you know, I've read the Dodd-Frank Act several times, and we have some attorney forms. The problem with it is every state has its own rules and regulations, and you know, you used to be able to have a mortgage company all over the country. Now, it's very difficult for one entity to be in more than a couple states, just because of the cost and just the difficulty and the bureaucracy that was created with the NMLS registry and all the, basically what these laws have done, Dodd-Frank and the S.A.F.E Act, have created an extra layer of cost for a transaction. And I think the Fannie and Freddie, I think it costs over $6,000 now to fund a loan from start to actually the purchase, you know, with the security with Fannie Freddie. And banks aren't willing to do that on a $50,000 loan or an $80,000 loan. So when you go to, you know, places like probably Virginia, but Idaho, Iowa and Idaho and Pennsylvania, you know, with under $100,000 home prices, you're not going to find many lenders that want to lend, and that's where seller financing is going to be so powerful.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you guys. For everybody on the call tonight, do this. Focus on investing in assets and do it as passively as you can, just like you just said. You'll do really well. Don't overanalyze. Just jump right in and link yourself to people that can help you be successful. Just like we started off the call. I mean, that is so important.
Yep. Well, I'm pretty much done. Mark, do you have any more questions for Jim? Or?
Yeah, Jim. Any closing thoughts for us? Any closing nuggets of wisdom? Anything that is popping into your head that you'd like to?
Yeah, I just think you guys brought a lot of great things out. Get your head straight and understand what your definite purpose is and what your goals are. And then put together a plan. If you have trouble writing down a plan, just start writing. Don't allow yourself to hesitate. Just start writing, and then you cross stuff out later. As early in your life as you can, begin investing in assets. You will build more wealth in real estate investing than any other platform available. And it's pretty forgiving. Even if you do make a mistake along the way, you can probably do just fine getting out of it if you follow some basic concepts along the way. And then as you go, get out of doing transactional deals after deals, and work on the long-term cash flow streams that are as passive as possible and that bring you the wealth that you're looking to get later on in life. I mean, I think we talked about a lot of that tonight, and it's super important that's what you do. Awesome.
Yep.
So,
I agree 100%.
Anything else to add, Terry?
Nope. Jim and I, Jim, we've never met, and this is our first conversation together.
I've enjoyed
it. I think we're like-minded, even though we live on opposite ends of the country.
I think so as well. When I come to San Diego next time, I'm going to look you guys up.
Definitely.
We'd love to meet with you.
We'll go have some beers. So, guys, to check out Jim, his program is you can find it at sellerfinancehelp.com. He actually has a really cool affiliate program. I should add that the two links you see are the only two affiliate programs that Terry and I market. So obviously we
believe in it.
We believe in finding deals through a lot of the methodology that Jim teaches, and that's at sellerfinancehelp.com. He's got a really cool webinar. A bunch of questions came in about specifically, as I thought they would, about the specific strategies for deal sourcing, because let's be honest, that's pretty much the name of the game. If you can't find a deal, we'll call it a lead, call it whatever you want, you're dead in the water. And he's got a killer webinar. You can see at that link, and you can essentially get a jump start on getting deal sourcing going into the next year. Daniel has, I thought we'd throw that up as well, yourprivatemortgage.com. He's got free real estate investing software, which we actually use as well. And as well, that's a free affiliate. Daniel's not on the call because he's in Rome, poor guy. And both of those, you can help yourself out to definitely some awesome free knowledge and tools. And then, of course, if you go to our website, we now have our free Dodd-Frank seller finance disclosure. It's the first disclosure you need, and the central disclosure to doing these deals. Of course, we help you with Dodd-Frank seller finance compliance, and you can download it at our website there. Stay tuned. We'll have 7 more of these interviews with people just as knowledgeable, just as competent, just as experienced as Jim Ingersoll. And we really enjoyed having you, Jim. This was a pleasure for both of us, and obviously we look forward to continued dialogue and correspondence, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, this was great, guys. It was like a mastermind, and I really did, and I really enjoyed the exchange, and wish you guys the best of luck in everything you do.
Awesome. Likewise, Jim. And wish Daniel a safe trip for us.
He's having a great time. I talked to him today.
I hard to imagine. All right, guys. Talk to you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.